China, a land full of contrasts and many people. Enormous skyscrapers pierced the sky in cities like Shanghai and Shenzhen. The busy streets of Beijing full of technology and ambition. Chongqing, with its neon-lit skyline, feels like the future, a cyberpunk city. The rapid development, the fast trains, the endless crowds, modern China is a place of innovation and relentless progress. And yet, beneath this modern facade lies something old. Something ancient. A culture deeply rooted in tradition, in belief, in the supernatural. In the shadows of China's megacities, in the forgotten alleyways, and within the walls of centuries-old villages, stories of the past still linger. But in China, ghosts are not just stories, they are warnings. Superstitions have shaped Chinese life since way back. From the fear of the number 4, which sounds like the word for death, to elaborate rituals meant to appease wandering spirits. These beliefs are woven into the fabric of daily life. But beyond just superstition, there are many ghosts, and many stories about them. Some are tragic. Some are vengeful. And some are simply terrifying. Tonight, we step beyond the flashy neon lights of the huge Chinese cities and we step into the darkness, to uncover some of China's scariest stuff. Welcome to the Glimp. One chilling tale is told in many Chinese families. This is the story about the girl in the mirror. It is said that if you stare into a mirror at midnight, you may catch a glimpse of a pale-faced girl standing behind you. Some people say she is a spirit who died in childhood, while others believe she was a victim of a terrible crime. If you happen to see her reflection, do not turn around. Because if you do, she will step out of the mirror and drag you into her world, forever trapping you in the glass. The only way to escape is to break the mirror, though some say that doing so only brings the girl's wrath upon you. Of course, this story, like many ghost stories, is told as a warning. But in a huge country like this, you can of course find way more ghosts and folklore. One of these ghosts is high on the list of the most feared spirits in Chinese folklore. This is the hanged ghost. It is said to be the vengeful soul of a person who died by hanging. Whether by suicide, execution, or murder. Like many ghosts, it is unable to find peace, and thus it roams the world of the living, seeking revenge. This ghost is often seen hanging in the trees or from the beams of old buildings. Its head hanging to one side, with their tongue out, and its dark eyes full of sorrow and rage. Some say it does not simply haunt. It tries to strangle the living, dragging them into the same fate. The story of this ghost has had such an impact on people, that a lot of people used to fear walking under large trees at night, because they believed this ghost could drop down from the branches, wrapping its spectral noose around their necks. Once you feel something tighten around your throat, but nothing is to be seen, it may already be too late. I am sure you have heard of werewolves, but did you ever hear about tigers? Ancient Chinese literature speaks of tigers that walk in human form. Angry demons that prowl vast territories, leaving devastation anywhere they go. These creatures, known as man-tigers, or tiger fairies, are recurring figures in folklore, embodying both primal fear and supernatural horror. Legends tell of their victims suffering a fate worse than death. Those caught by these tiger demons are trapped in the spirit world, unable to reincarnate, forced to serve their killers. Some become restless ghosts, whispering to the demons, urging them to slaughter again. Not all tiger demons remain in monstrous form. Some take on the guise of women, choosing unsuspecting men as husbands. But their hunger is insatiable. In time, they devour both spouse and child, leaving only horror in their wake. History records chilling real-life cases. In 376 AD, a young man of 22 reportedly transformed into a tiger-like being. Losing his mind to a savage thirst for human flesh, he devoured many before he was finally captured. Starving in prison while awaiting execution, he perished. His hunger never sated. Much like the Western fear of werewolves, the specter of the tiger demon loomed over ancient China. Fear and superstition led to brutal justice. Men suspected of being tiger demons were often lynched by terrified mobs, and in some cases, even condemned by magistrates to die under the full sanction of the state. The tiger demon was not just a myth, it was a terror that haunted the minds of an entire civilization. One of the most feared and famous ghosts in China is the Avenging Woman in Red. A woman who dies tragically, often murdered, abused, or betrayed, returns wearing a flowing red dress, her face pale, her lips painted in blood. But be relieved. This ghost does not haunt people randomly. She is a spirit of vengeance, targeting those who wronged her in life. This legend begins with a young woman who fell in love with a man named Lu. Lu is a wealthy man who is actually engaged to another woman, but he falls in love with the young woman and they begin an affair. The young woman, whose name is not given, becomes pregnant with his child. She is overjoyed at the prospect of starting a new life with Lu and raising their kid together. However, when Lu's fiancé discovers their affair, she becomes enraged and confronts the young woman. In a fit of jealousy and anger, she pushes the young woman into a nearby river, where she unfortunately drowns. After her death, the young woman's spirit does not find peace. This is how she became a ghost. Many believe that if a woman dies wearing red, she will become a particularly powerful and vengeful ghost, capable of tormenting her enemies for eternity. There are stories of men waking up to find a woman in red, standing at the foot of their bed, with her hair draped over her face. If she lifts her head and makes eye contact, they never wake up again. While there is no evidence to prove the existence of her, there have been numerous reports of people encountering a ghostly figure that matches the description of the legend. Among the many urban legends of modern China, one of the most terrifying is the story of the Beijing ghost bus. The tale goes that one night, a man hailed the last bus home, bus number 375. And as he stepped inside, he noticed that among the passengers were three strange men, with unnaturally pale faces, and clothing that came from the Qing Dynasty. The bus continued its route, and soon, the only passengers left were the man and an elderly woman. At one stop, the woman suddenly grabbed the man's arm and accused him of stealing her purse. A fight broke out, and the driver kicked them both off the bus. As soon as they were on the street, the woman turned to him and told him, "I just saved your life." Those three men, they had no feet. They were dead, floating ghosts. The next morning, November the 15th, 1995, the bus failed to report to the station for duty, and neither did the bus driver. 2 days later the news broke that the bus had been found submerged in the water in the Meiyun Reservoir, with its driver missing, and its last stop about 120 kilometers beyond its normal route. Upon further investigation, several impossible sounding things were found. First, the bus was known to not have enough fuel to have made it all the way to the Meiyun Reservoir. Second, when security footage of the entrance of the Meiyun Reservoir was reviewed, the vehicle could not be found. And third, the state of decomposition in which the remains were found, was much more severe than it should have been, even accounting for the fact that they have been in the water. There are different versions of this legend, and some versions say that the bus was never even found, or that it overturned in a ditch. This makes the story feel like a legend, but it generally is said that this legend is based on a factual event. Regardless, if three strange people in Qing Dynasty clothing board your bus, disembark as soon as possible, because that bus will not take you to your destination. Many places in China have stories of drowned spirits, whether it be in a bus, dressed in red clothes, or other ways. But one of the most famous is the Lotus Pond ghost. A long time ago, a young woman was betrayed by her lover and, in despair, threw herself into a lotus pond. Her body was never found, but the legend says that she still lingers beneath the water, waiting for another victim. Fishermen and travelers have reported seeing a woman's reflection in the water, even when no one is standing nearby. Some have felt an invisible force pulling at their ankles, dragging them toward the depths. Local superstition warns never to stare too long at a still pond, lest you see her face appear beside yours, and feel cold hands pull you under. This story shares similarities with other legends around the world. Let me know if you know which ones I am talking about. It is interesting to learn how many countries, far away from each other, have such deeply rooted stories in common. If you have seen my other documentaries, you know that there are many stories about vampire-like ghosts all over the world. In China, this is not different. In fact, this is one of China's most well-known ghosts. It is known as the jiangshi, often referred to as the hopping vampire. This creature is said to be the reanimated corpse of someone who died in a violent or unnatural way. Unlike Western vampires, the jiangshi does not sleep in coffins, it roams the land by night, and instead of moving normally this ghost is hopping, due to stiffened limbs. In both folklore and popular culture, the appearance of a jiangshi can range from that of a recently deceased person to that of a horribly decayed and rotting corpse. The jiangshi always lacks the suppleness that characterized a living person or even a West European vampire. The Chinese character for jiang literally means hard or stiff. The jiangshi is said to feed on the life force of the living, and it has the power to drain a person's vitality with just a touch. In ancient China, it was believed that the only way to ward off a jiangshi was with Taoist talismans or a special ritual that involved banging on drums and burning incense. There are tales of villagers locking their doors tight at night, for if you hear a soft thud outside your window, it may be the jiangshi hopping closer, seeking its next victim. In China, ghosts are not just shadows lurking in the dark, they are a bridge between the living and the dead, reminding people that the past is never fully gone. In fact, many of the most well-known ghost stories are rooted in real beliefs and customs, passed down through generations. These ghosts are not only figures of fear, but also symbols of respect, remorse, and the ties that bind families and ancestors together. In traditional Chinese culture, the concept of ancestral worship plays a significant role. Every year, families perform rituals to honor the spirits of their ancestors, making offerings of food, incense, and prayers to ensure their departed loved ones are well cared for in the afterlife. It's believed that the dead continue to influence the living, offering guidance, protection, or, at times, punishment for wrongdoings. For many, the boundaries between the living and the dead are far thinner than one might think. Ghosts can be vengeful, certainly, but they can also be kind, offering warnings or guidance to those who are lost or in need. The Hungry Ghost Festival is another cultural cornerstone, a time when families gather to offer food, light incense, and burn paper money for the spirits of the departed. During this festival, it's believed that the gates of the underworld open, allowing the spirits to return and roam freely among the living. The living must ensure they honor their ancestors and appease any restless spirits, lest they bring misfortune. These ghosts are also known as the hungry ghosts, and they share a lot of similarities with the prets from Indonesia, or the gakis from Japan. These are the ghosts of those who died with unfulfilled desires or improper burials. With thin, emaciated bodies and gaping mouths, they roam the earth endlessly craving food, wealth, or even human souls. The legend says that if one of these ghosts is not appeased, it will curse the living, bringing misfortune and illness. In ancient China, people believed that certain eerie wails heard at night were the cries of hungry ghosts, begging to be fed. To this day, families burn paper money and leave offerings of food to ensure these restless spirits do not turn against them. But beware, if you eat food left out for the hungry ghosts, you may find yourself with an insatiable hunger, one that no earthly meal can satisfy. As China skyrockets into the future, modern cities rise and ancient traditions fade, one might think that the belief in ghosts would vanish. But the opposite is true. Even in the bustling streets of Shanghai or the neon-lit avenues of Chongqing, the presence of the supernatural still lingers in the corners of the city. People still leave offerings outside their homes or consult mediums when they sense that the restless spirits of the past have returned. And so, the stories endure, passed down not just as folklore, but as living traditions, shaped by the deep cultural understanding that the spirits of the past are never truly gone. They walk beside us, sometimes unseen, but always near, waiting, watching, and sometimes, whispering. These stories are more than just superstition. These ghost stories are a tribute to China's past, lingering in the present. Maybe they seek justice. Maybe they long for home. Or maybe, they just enjoy the company of the living. But the next time you feel something cold brush against your skin, the next time you hear a whisper with no source, or see a shadow that doesn't belong, pause. Listen. Watch. Because in China, ghosts do not stay buried. If you enjoyed this documentary, make sure to subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments which country's ghosts you would like to see next. Thanks for watching.